Alerta de protección civil. Probando el sistema de alerta a la población en caso de evento de emergencia. No responda a este mensaje. No llame al 112. Esto es una prueba. Directorio General de Emergencias del Interior.
Physical geography, and particularly environmental hazards, is all about people. And one of the big concerns about flooding is just how quickly the onset can be and the amount of destruction that can occur.
The early warning emergency alert system for Spain, used to alert citizens of disasters and emergencies through phones, was tested on Friday, 19th of April 2024. On October 29th, 2024, deadly flash floods hit the region of eastern and southern Spain, with devastation most extreme in Valencia, causing massive mud flows through the streets, homes and schools. Over an 8-hour period, more than a year's worth of rain would fall, with weather forecasts designated at the most extreme. More than 220 people would die. It would be more than 14 hours after the first signs of disaster before officials sent out an emergency alert. Despite many institutions closing due to the heavy rain forecast, the Integrated Operational Coordination Centre did not meet. After the hazard hit, the President continued his lunch plans, and the Councillor of Justice and Emergencies was recorded as saying she did not know the emergency phone alert system existed. Soils are an important part of ecosystems. This disaster exposed biodiverse areas such as the Albufera coastal wetlands to contaminants from microplastics to industrial chemicals, with toxins found in the soil. Economically, this is the area where Spain grows the paella grain, with the condition of this crop not yet known. Crops of citrus that weren't devastated by floodwaters or mud flows have experienced fungal diseases, access to farms were blocked, and soils have degraded. In a region vulnerable to flooding, drought, the El Niño southern oscillation, and heading towards a future of water scarcity and population migration, mitigations need to be put in place now before more lives are lost due to hesitation. The floods of Valencia have been blamed on a low-pressure weather system, referred to as an isolated depression at high levels, or DANIA. And whatever the trigger of this event, this hazard did not need to turn into a disaster. To better understand the vulnerability of the Valencia region, I need a soil scientist.
Hola Carmen, bienvenida.
Hola Tabitha, gracias.
There is a strong relationship between drought and flooding, as drought severity can cause soils to lose their capacity to hold water. This has implications for urban and agricultural land. Can you explain how drought and flooding interlink?
Lo importante para tener en cuenta en para poder evaluar la relación entre inundaciones y la sequía, es el manejo del suelo. Manejo del suelo no solamente en la parte urbana, sino también en la parte de la cuenca, de toda la cuenca hidrológica. En este caso, los suelos, una de las funciones ecológicas que nos provee a las sociedades es el manejo de las inundaciones. ¿Y cómo pasa esto? Esto pasa porque el suelo, funcionando adecuadamente, que soporta vegetación y teniendo un adecuado contenido de materia orgánica, este suelo actúa como una esponja, y al actuar como una esponja retiene esta agua y a través de sus poros y el drenaje pueden entonces, en vez de una inundación muy rápida, que fluye todo muy rápido, el agua puede llegar a los ríos de una forma más lenta, preveniendo desastres como los de Valencia.
By 2050, Spain will be under extremely high water stress. Land is changing, climate migrants will increase, with people moving into flood-prone areas. A return period of 25 years instead of a 1 in 500 year event prediction would give mitigation for uncertain elements such as climate change. Remote sensing applications such as SAR could also be useful for before and after a hazard. Without action, Spain will become an area of high risk and high vulnerability.
There is a degree of uncertainty that surrounds predicting future disaster risk. Predictive modelling is based on historical records. This downplays the risk as changes by anthropogenic climate change, storm events, water scarcity are not considered equally across models. Do you think that applying a shorter return period to flood risk calculations could be an effective mitigation for those challenges?
I think first we need to think about what kind of models we're looking at. So we can have models that are more based on empirical data and past data, so we try to learn from the past. There are also more what we call mechanistic models. We try to simulate the physics of the systems. So I think a combination of both is the best way to, and then we can fill in the gaps with historical data.
Why is it so difficult to predict the magnitude and frequency of flooding events? Do uncertainty in climate change projections play a part in us being unsure?
I think it's from a statistical point of view, predicting anything that's extreme is much harder because it's easy to predict the average. What's the average response? What's the average year? But the extremes, by definition, they're rare. And so you're always going to have less information to base on to think when the next extreme is going to be. In terms of uncertainty of climate predictions, I don't think so. I think another problem with floods is that they're more of a weather event than a climate event, right? It's this very short, episodic thing, and those are the hardest things to predict. Again, the best idea is to work with scenarios, I think, and maybe plan for the worst. Even if you're not sure it's going to happen, I think it's better to be safe and plan for the possibility of it happening.
If we are unsure of predicting future risk, what's the point of doing so?
I mean, you could ask, like, if you don't know if it's going to rain or not, what's the point of bringing an umbrella? But it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Right? So every prediction is going to have some degree of uncertainty to it. I mean, we can't really see the future, but we can use that to inform and to think about. And at this point, it stops being a scientific question and it becomes more of like a political and economical question in terms of what's viable, what's doable. And then it's a matter of finding the balance between the two and making sure that you have something that, again, using the predictions, you can gauge how far should they be, how big should I expect the floods to be, and then, of course, you can never be 100% prepared, but you can be better prepared.
Y lo único que quiero decir es que este abandono y esta negligencia institucional se tiene que pagar.
Es momento de actuar.